September 5, 2004, around 6 p.m., a mortar round drops into LSA Anaconda near Balad, Iraq. 2 soldiers from the 13th Corps Support Command are killed, 16 wounded, some evacuated by air to the Combat Support Hospital in Baghdad, others by ground ambulance. 2 dead, on a base with a Burger King. That's how a lot of people remember LSA Anaconda. Big base, big chow halls, air-conditioned trailers if you got lucky, mortars dropping in while somebody argued about internet speed. If that sounds stupid, good. It was stupid. Iraq was full of that. This is the story of the biggest American base in Iraq, and why safe was never really the word. LSA Anaconda sat near Balad, about 40 miles north of Baghdad. The Iraqis built it as Al-Bakr Air Base back in the Saddam years. Big runway complex, hardened aircraft shelters, serious infrastructure by regional standards. U.S. forces took it in early April 2003, and then did what the Army always does when it finds useful ground. We turned it into a small city and pretended that made it normal. It didn't. First, one thing people get wrong, LSA didn't mean life support area. It meant logistics support activity, which tells you what the place actually was, not a frontline outpost, not some little fob with a plywood talk and 3 guys heating MREs on a truck hood. Anaconda was the machine behind the machine. Fuel, ammo, parts, convoys, airlift, medevac, maintenance, command nodes. The kind of place that makes every other place possible. That's why it mattered. And that's also why it got shot at. Constantly. Starting in 2003, mortar rounds and rockets came in multiple times per day. By mid-2004, one report from the Seattle Times described roughly 2 attacks daily since July. The base had 22,500 troops and another 2,500 contractors at that point, all of them living under the same math. Soldiers called it Mortaritaville, not because troops are creative with naming, because incoming was part of the routine. It shaped how people lived, moved, slept, and thought. Here's the part civilians miss. A rocket doesn't care if you're infantry, aviation, or a guy trying to fix refrigeration units. Everybody on that base lived under the same alarm. Incoming siren. Math in your head. Was that outgoing? Was that close? Do I need to move, or am I already where I'm gonna die? Then the all clear maybe. Then back to work like nothing happened. That rhythm gets into your bones. July 3, 2003. 16 soldiers wounded in a mortar attack. First mortar strike on U.S. troops since Bush declared major combat over 2 months earlier. September 5, 2004. 2 killed, 16 wounded when a round hit the base around dinner time. These weren't isolated events. They were the texture of daily life. Most rounds hit empty space between runways. But most isn't all. And one round is enough to ruin your whole evening. But here's the weird thing about Anaconda. While all that was happening, the base kept growing. At peak, LSA Anaconda housed around 28,000 military personnel and 8,000 civilian contractors. That's a small city, and it had the infrastructure to match. The Air Force's 332nd Air Expeditionary Wing operated out of Balad. Army sustainment units worked the logistics side. Medevac birds, cargo aircraft, contractors, MPs, mechanics, signal guys, intel shops, everybody. We had 3 quick reaction forces that worked on 48-hour rotations with a USMC counterpart we would roll with, Bulldog. Some sources cite roughly 27,500 takeoffs and landings per month at peak tempo, one of the busiest military airfields in the world during parts of the war. If you were moving forces through central Iraq, supporting operations around Salah ad-Din, Baghdad, Samarra, Tikrit, Anaconda was part of your bloodstream. Aircraft came through there. Casualties came through there. Replacement parts, mail, personnel rotations. Half the war passed through there sooner or later. And yeah, the amenities showed up too. When I was at Anaconda, we had a few outhouses and a shower trailer showed up after a few weeks. The PX was a semi-truck trailer that would come through once a week. Copenhagen was in high demand. Guys would pay $20 for a can of that good stuff. Eventually, Anaconda would have 4 big dining facilities run by civilian contractors. 2 PX, Popeyes, Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, Burger King, Green Beans Coffee, movie theater, Olympic-sized swimming pool, indoor pool, dance lessons depending on when you were there. Easy to mock from a ditch near Bakba. But those creature comforts hide what the base actually was. It wasn't luxury, it was scale. You build infrastructure for 36,000 people, eventually somebody gets coffee options. Doesn't make it home. And it definitely didn't make it safe. People outside the wire assumed the big bases were safe. Safer than running convoys on Route Tampa? Sure. Safer than clearing houses in Fallujah? Fine. But safer isn't safe. A giant fixed installation is a target. Everybody knows where it is. Everybody knows what it does. And insurgents got good at simple harassment that still carried a body count. That's the contradiction that defined Anaconda. You could be sitting on a base with a chow hall, hard-packed roads, maybe even a trailer room and a phone card, and still know some kid on the perimeter tower was staring into blackness, waiting for muzzle flashes. Some convoy was forming up before dawn, knowing IED Alley was still IED Alley. Some medevac crew was on strip alert. And somewhere on base, somebody was getting tagged by shrapnel from a rocket launched by a guy who never planned to fight fair in the first place. The detail nobody talks about enough is how exposed a logistics war really is. Everybody loves direct action stories. Hit a target. Kill bad guys. Get a cool patch. But Iraq from 2003 to 2005 ran on sustainment. Fuelers, convoy planners, mechanics, aviation maintainers, air traffic control, medics, engineers, contractors running generators and water systems. If any of that breaks, all the high-speed stuff starts starving. Anaconda was where that invisible labor got concentrated, which made it strategically priceless, which also made it emotionally strange. And one part of that mission deserves more respect than it gets. The theater hospital at Anaconda became a major treatment point for wounded troops. Air evacuation and trauma care made the base more than a logistics node. It was where bad days landed, guys blown up on the road, gunshot wounds, fragmentation, heat casualties, aviation mishaps. A lot of men who got another chance at life in Iraq got it because the evacuation chain ran through places like Anaconda. That part deserves respect, because logistics and medicine are easy to ignore until you need them, and by the time you need them, you really need them. If you want the veteran truth about a place like Anaconda, here it is. Nobody brags much about the logistics hub while they're standing in it. It's hot, it's dusty, smells like burn pits, JP8 and overworked machinery. You gripe about chow, alarms, contractors, mail, leadership, the line at Green Bean. Then years later, you realize you were sitting inside one of the most important pieces of the whole war. Because all those convoys, aircraft, surgeries, pallets, briefings, refuelings, repairs, and medevac launches added up. LSA Anaconda wasn't glamorous. It was necessary. And in Iraq, necessary places got shot at too.